Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2, and today I'm going to be giving you part 18 of What If Naruto Had a New Dream That Will Change Everything. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto was a direct descendant of the sage, and enjoy that guys over in Anime King. And over in Anime King 3, I post a brand new episode of What If Naruto Awaken the Yellow Rinnegan after his exile. So go ahead and check out that and enjoy. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last spot we left off, as Naruto was currently facing off against Orochimaru, as the both of them had been clashing Kusanagi Blade against Crystal, as Orochimaru filled the area, using one of Gurin's most powerful technique, as Naruto had to leap up on top of the Kusanagi Blade and stood on top of it, as Orochimaru filled the ground with all sorts of crystals, as they started to grow. So Naruto uses water combined with Sengan and launched it, as it obliterated everything. Orochimaru realized that he was at a huge disadvantage here, as he was not winning no matter what, as he could feel the body already getting strained because of siege mode, so he had to flee. The blonde was just more stronger than he anticipated. As Naruto made his way back down tired, as Kisame and Itachi came out, as Kisame attacked him and they started the battle, as Itachi trapped Naruto in his Tsukiyomi, as Naruto was able to go throughout all of it. 3 seconds in the real world while 72 hours in there. But Naruto went through it like a champ. Didn't even falter once. But he felt the effect after it was over, having your mind mentally exhausted and weakened. But he stood back up, his body being more resilient than others, as he ended up killing Kisame by piercing a chain right through his heart. As he attacked Itachi, as the both of them started to clash, Naruto was shocked when he saw Itachi brought to the giant skeleton. As he did the only thing to do right there with his low chakra, he ran. As Itachi ran after him, but Itachi was slowly coming to his sickness as he started to cough up blood. The man ended up falling to the ground, as Naruto could feel himself shutting down. His body was too exhausted to even move. As he lined up against a tree, he saw another member of the Akatsuki. As Naruto apologized to Zana, he was dead. As he passed out, Naruto woke up at Konoha. That was confusing. As he was in the house, Zana had told him that Jiraiya was the one that came to rescue him. The other member of the Akatsuki was Zetsu. Jiraiya was coming, so he had to flee with Itachi's body. After all, Itachi was the only set of Mangita Sharingan in the world right now, and they were more valuable than a Kyuubi Jinchuriki at the moment. So he took Itachi's body and made his way off with that. As Naruto felt something strange, as Zana had told him that he almost died. As the Sage mode had adapted completely to his body, it was different, it was new. As he was even stronger when he entered it, as his life force was a lot stronger. As Zana realized that he's so close to making himself immortal. Zana had slipped up though, as she let her tails being seen. As Kiba had a company. Well, he was watching over Ayame as she made her way towards Naruto compound. As her husband had asked him to do it, seeing that he was on a mission, he didn't like her being in that part of the village alone, even though she told him that she would be fine. So Kiba ended up seeing Zana tails, as he needed to talk to somebody about it because he was freaking out as he put 2 and 2 together. As Naruto saw the security seals on, he asked her what was going on, as she told him that a mob had came here to, well, burn them and kill them. As Naruto was shocked. Well, he knew that he would have to desert the village sooner or later, but it was earlier than he expected. The news had spread and everyone think that they were conspiring. But before he left, he had a lot of things to do first. So yeah guys, so basically that's what I thought. You guys can switch across the place and check out for yourself. So what do you say begin this new episode? Snavy was at her desk as she was holding her head, trying to force off the migraine. The migraine that has been getting worse and worse the more the week go by. When Asuma team had reported that they had encountered Orochimaru, seems like someone in the village had, informed the traitor about Naruto location. She was furious and she was also worried. The fact that Orochimaru had Sage Mode didn't help at all either. Jiraiya had immediately ran out there to go and help Naruto. When Jiraiya had returned with Naruto, she was happy. But that happiness quickly slipped away when she saw the condition that he was in. She didn't even know if he was alive as she saw his destroyed chakra system and his body. As he had healed his body to the point where he had pumped out almost every last drop of his chakra. And his wounds were not healing so fast anymore. It was a mess, a bloody mess. Team Asuma was waiting in the hospital for Naruto to recover after all. He was the only reason why they were alive. And Asuma already owed him a death for the recovery seal that he had handed out to everyone. After all, that was the only thing that saved his life when he done and used that jutsu on him. Zana was also there and she was also agitated, as the medic name could not help at all. Snavy had did all she could, and there was another medic in there to check on him and to see if he could help him otherwise. Zana had lost her patience and took Naruto. The other medics had protested, but Snavy did not. There wasn't anything else they could do for him. They had to just hope that he can pull through. As she had investigated and spoke to the elders, they knew nothing about the plot to get Naruto killed. But it did turn out that Danzo was the one who suggested this observation to keep an eye on Naruto to see if he was a threat to Konoha. But despite their innocence, she knew that they were somehow a part of it, as she had them under house arrest for the time being. She had sent envoys to arrest Danzo, but the old warmonger had went underground somewhere. She was sure that he was still in the village, but she did not know where exactly. She was in the middle of organizing a search for the man, when suddenly, the news about Zana being the Kyuubi spread through the village. As a mob was quickly created heading towards Naruto's home before she could quickly get a hand on things. Not to mention when they got there, an unbreakable barrier had erupted around the building, and Zana was standing on top of it, her tails out on full display. There were so many rumors going around, no one knew what was the real truth. But when they were panicking, they decided to choose the worstest one. As the worst one was Naruto and the Kyuubi planned together to destroy the village. They couldn't explain how was she free so long and she didn't destroy anything. So they made up something saying that she was weakened by the ceiling and she was trying to regain her power with Naruto help. That had been another reason why the mob was so quickly trying to burn down the house, because they thought that the unsealing time was running out and she was getting back her full power to destroy the village. Snavy, Jiraiya, and several more people that were level-headed that met Zana before, they never bought into that. No, it was certain though that she was a Kyuubi, but she didn't seem, hell-bent on wiping out the village or destroying anything. The only thing she seemed to care about was Naruto, and he cared about her as well. That was the only thing two of them were focusing on, each other. As Zana was worried when he was injured, Snavy knew that there was no real danger of Konoha being wiped out. After all, if she was free for so long, she would have done it. There's no stupid belief about the seal making her weaker. But it seems like the both of them just care about each other. And that was that. But she knew that Naruto wasn't just gonna sit down, as he was gonna do something. Either way, the situation has to change very soon. The Envoy and a large part of regular forces were still listening to her, but there was still some muttering, trying to calm people down to tell them that they weren't in any danger of being attacked. Well, it didn't really work out, seeing that Zana had shown her tails on the top of the building and looking at all of them menacingly. Meanwhile, it was starting to get dark outside. As Naruto was smiling, he was happy after all. Zana told him that she would marry him. But they have to leave the village soon. But they didn't just want to leave like that. After all, there was an attempt made on Naruto's life. And they just don't want to leave like that after all. Naruto knew who exactly was behind it. And that man is well due past his time by now. Not to mention, there was nothing they could do to Zana. The only person that knew the Reaper that seal probably was Jiraiya. He was the only one that had the skills to use it. I have an idea. What kind of idea? Said Naruto. Seal me back inside of you, but place no restrictions on me. That way, we could share your body and watch out for each other without there being any danger of us getting separated somehow, she suggested. She was well aware that no one, even all of them combined in Konoha, couldn't match her in raw destructive power. But that wasn't what she wanted here. If she blew everything up, she would be killing people that Naruto actually cared about in this village. And she didn't want that at all. Her power was too restricted in human form, and her fox form was unsuitable because of the size. Sharing Naruto's body would eliminate those options, and they could watch out for each other well. As Naruto held her tighter, that was a sign of complete trust. She didn't know much about Fuinjutsu and she hated it, yet she asked him to do this. Well, said Naruto as he had to tease, if you wanted my body, all you had to do was ask. I do want it, and I'll be taking it later. I have a special place in mind I want to show you. Once we're out of the village, she said. No, that sounds like an offer I can't refuse. Time skip an hour later, as Naruto had made the modifications to repair that seal. The sealing took a while as Zana simply sat in his lap, and she just allowed her chakra to be drawn in. He couldn't use Sage Mode while she was in there. He couldn't seal Sage Mode in the Reaper Dead Seal, but he could still pull it from the environment. But with her inside of him, Sage Mode didn't matter right now because he would be more powerful than ever. He would unseal her the moment that he's out of the village, but for now, this was the best course of action. The process didn't take that long though, and given the fact that his coils were really thick, it did just minimum damage and they healed rather quickly. Once it was done, Naruto stood up, his eyes glowing a deep crimson instead of their normal gold orange. Oh my, I never expect having a body of true flesh will feel so good. Or is it because it has so much life force, she said. Maybe, I should keep it. As she ran her hand over the body that she was now controlling. It sounded rather strange because her voice was female, yet she was talking out of his mouth. As Naruto allowed her to take control, as he was talking to her in her mind. It certainly would put a new spin on being married, said Naruto. I wonder, should I use this bot to have some fun with some of the females around before I leave the village, she said. As her hand reached down and went into her pants. You can play with it later if you want, said Naruto. Right now we have something to do, remember? Fine, she said. As Naruto took control, as she retreated in. His eyes then changed back to the gold orange view. Now, it's time to have some loose ends and finally leave this place, he said. As she approved. With that, he headed off. Time skip. Tenten woke up as she felt someone enter her bedroom. She gripped the kunai under her pillow and threw it. What a cruel, disrespectful apprentice I have, said Naruto. I come to visit and she threw a kunai at me. But if you want to play hide the kunai, then I will be more than obliged to help you. Naruto, Tenten threw herself at him in a hug, ignoring the perverted banter. Fortunately, she's sleeping in shorts and t-shirt, so she wasn't exactly indecent. As Naruto caught her as she clung to him, the situation must have been hard on her. How have you been, Tenten? Said Naruto. Tenten pulled her fist back and punched him in the chest. Idiot, she said. You nearly got yourself killed, and I wasn't able to see you. And then I come to hear that your girlfriend is a Kyuubi? There's been so many rumors going around, I don't know what is true or what is not. And now you come in my bedroom middle of the night and ask me how I've been? How did you get in my bedroom without triggering any of my booby traps in the way she asked? Well, Zana is indeed the Kyuubi. She has no interest in leveling Konoha, and I got into your bedroom by doing something secret, said Naruto. Those harassing tags that he placed in her clothing was meant as something for emergency, if in case she ever needed help. But so far it was unnecessary. At least the seals made it better to say his goodbyes. Sneaking around the village, dodging unfos, with a suck. Not that I'm not happy to see you, but is it safe for you to be here? The village is really on edge with your girlfriend being a Kyuubi, said Tenten as she looked at the window to see if there was anyone there. As Tenten had thought it over, she saw Zana 3 years ago. And when she thought it over, why would she wait this long to do something like that? And she knew Naruto, so she already knew that those rumors were a bunch of crap. Don't worry, no one can sense my chakra, so no one will know that I'm here, said Naruto agreeing. Well, he couldn't suppress his chakra, but Zana could. So, dating the Kyuubi, huh? How did that even happen, she asked. She was genuinely curious. She wasn't upset that he didn't tell her about this before. It was his business who he told. And he was doing this for, well, for people not to find out, after all. This is the reaction that he got from this. People were marching towards his building to burn it down. It was a good thing that he kept it to himself. It's a long story, but suffice to say she's a demon in the sack and we're getting married. Naruto said, his face splitting into a huge grin by himself. He never got tired of saying that. Tenten was surprised. Married? Congratulations, she said. Were you supposed to congratulate someone if they were getting married to a demon? Thank you, said Naruto. But anyway, I came here for a whole nother reason. I've got presents for you, he said. as he unsealed a large tome that was covered in chains with an odd lock. The lock itself didn't have any keyholes, but it had several panels on it. As Tenten looked it over, it looked like a stone tablet, but it was a book. The design of it and the wrapping make it look almost like stone. What is this? She said. Instead of answering, Naruto grabbed her hand and used his claw and pinched her hand as she winced a bit as he placed her hand on it. As her blood went over the lock, the metal plates then disconnected as he popped off to the side as the book opened up. As Tenten went through it, details after details of Fuinjutsu. It's something I had a shadow clone working on ever since our mission to rescue Gaara. I have written down a lot that I was going to teach you, said Naruto. The lock is protected by a blood seal that will instantly teleport to a preset location of your choosing if anyone tried to tamper with it. As Tenten looked it over, it was so detailed. It looked like it was rather expensive, and the way it was carved. She hugged him. Thank you, Naruto, she said. As she felt overwhelmed, Fuinjutsu users all over the world would have given an arm or a leg for something like this. This was amazing. Beyond amazing. I didn't have time to finish it, unfortunately. So you're gonna have to do it for me, he said. She looked up at him as she broke away. What are you saying? I'm saying that you're not my apprentice anymore, Tenten. But she protests. Why did hearing that hurt her so much? It should be something happy to find out. That he think that she was good enough so she didn't deserve is helping him more. But it just hurt her. I haven't been able to spend much time teaching you due to certain circumstances. But this Codex of Seals will help you continue your study until you can call yourself a Fuinjutsu mistress. As Tenten realized what he was saying. You're leaving, aren't you? Yes, I am, he confirmed. The village would never accept that you'd be walking amongst them freely. And me and Zana are not going to tolerate their petty hatred. Besides, Tsunade is my friend. And this would just cause her pointless trouble. Tenten nodded as she understood. But that didn't mean that she felt happy at all. Are you ready for your second gift, he said, changing the mood. But you've already gave me this, she said. I couldn't possibly accept anything else. Are you sure about this, beloved? Said Zana, as she knew what Naruto was about to do. Yeah, I'm sure. She will make better use of it than I ever did. I'll miss it, but it will be in good hands. The Codex was a graduation present. This, I was always going to give you when we parted ways, he said, as he held out the Kusanagi for her to take. Tenten's hand started to shake as she grabbed onto the weapon and held it. The Kusanagi sword? Your sword? No, I can't accept this. I'm not a swordsman, Tenten, and I'm not doing the Kusanagi any favor by swinging it around like it's an iron bar, said Naruto. It's better off in your hands. You will appreciate it more than just a sharp piece of metal, as he refused to take it when she tried to give him it back. Despite the situation, her lips wanted to smile because she just been handed a legendary blade. But the mood, everything was just so sad because he was leaving. And everything was just confusing, as it made her swell with so much emotions, as tears started to leak from her eyes. As Naruto pulled her into a hug, I won't tell you all the Kusanagi special powers, because I'm sure you'll have fun figuring it out yourself. And also, you can go untone on it. If you break it, it will simply use your chakra to reform, okay? Tenten nodded as a kunoichi. She shouldn't be getting into her emotions like this anyway, as she wiped away those few drops. You've been a good apprentice, Tenten. I'm proud of you. I'm sure, in due time, the Elemental Nation will know you as the finest Fuinjutsu mistress and as sword user. She kept her arms wrapped around him for a bit longer because she knew once she let go of him, he would be gone. You're gonna have to let go now, Tenten, as she still had her arms wrapped around him. As she slowly lowered them, he ruffled her hair, something she never liked, as she tried to pout, but her eyes were so puffy. I'll be expecting to hear great things about you, he said. Goodbye. Goodbye, she said. And like that, he was gone. As the Kusanagi blade fell out of her hands, and the book fell from her hands as well, as she slumped down to the floor. She was just given a legendary blade that she's always wanted, and a book that was filled with so much greatness, but she didn't feel happy at all right now. She preferred to have him here, for him to continue this sexual teasing, and to mess up her hair even though she didn't like it, for him to always wave the Kusanagi in her face. It was a, well, experience that she preferred over not having him here at all. As she heard something as she reached over to her back, as it was a piece of paper that Naruto left on it. As she saw it was a note. I'll be causing a bit of ruckus later on in the village. And I'm gonna kill some people that has been pissing me off, such as the elders, so don't be too surprised. These are people that really need to die, trust me on that. But I'm probably gonna be called some evil monster for it or something like that. Oh, P.S. I included my anti-pregnancy seal inside of the codex, in case you and Neji want to experiment. You can also put a explosive note on it to make him your bitch. I wonder, would you rant about fate if you use that to rape him? Or maybe he will like it, since I always believed that he was have some submissive tendency for some reason, don't know why. At the bottom there was a chubby Naruto giving her 2 thumbs up. She was gonna take his word for it, that the people that he was gonna kill deserve to die. But no, she had a rather embarrassing thought in her head about she and Neji. As she looked at the chibi Naruto giving her a thumbs up, as it made her smile. Time skip. Naruto was furious. It was even harder to say goodbye to Sakura now, as he was pissed off. As he was pissed off at the person that had ratted him out, that had spoken and told everyone what happened. As he had to keep himself calm though. He never wanted to leave the village so soon, as he wanted to stay with Ayame. He wanted to spoil her child. He wanted to see Tenten, Hinata, and Sakura grow up and become adults. Along the way, see if he could corrupt their mind for them to become perverts, just to mess with them in some way or another. As all of them had Harashin markings on their clothes, and Ayame, she didn't protest and Naruto asked her to put one on her. He will have to say goodbye to Kakashi as well, but those will be on the run goodbye, and Snazzy and Jory as well, because they will try to stop him. As he made his way, Sakura was still asleep. He decided to mess with her for a bit. As he entered, she didn't wake up. He was in full stealth mode. Now it was time to mess with her. Sakura woke up in a panic as a hand was placed over her mouth. She was manhandled and he held her hand so she was prevented from using her super strength. Calm down, Sakura. I just want to see the carpet match the drapes. As she heard her teammate voice. As her eyebrows started to twitch, as she bit his hand over her mouth, making him remove it. So feisty. It will be a brave man that lets you give him oral, Naruto teased. Naruto, she said, as he was still holding on to her, as she was pressed up against his chest. What are you doing inside my bedroom, she asked. The fact that she was only wearing her underwear and a tank top. This was really embarrassing. And he didn't care about the situation, as he was just holding on to her. He never really get embarrassing that easy though. He decided to get to the point. I've come to say goodbye. She paused, her anger melting away. But why? She was angry, as she knew that he didn't mean leaving on a mission. He was leaving the village. She knew about him and the Kyuubi. In fact, that was the reason why she wasn't leaving her parents anymore. When the news came out, they were consistently bad-mouthing Naruto, and she got angry. So she moved out, and now she was living on her own. It was like they didn't do it before, but she always tried to convince him that he was an okay guy, even though he was a pervert. And they had calmed down a bit, but all that progress went through the window when they heard that the Kyuubi was free. And they consistently bad-mouthed him, as they thought that she would turn against him, turn against her last teammate. But she did not do anything as that. The Konoha 11 had came together. Hinata wasn't there, they were confused by that. As Naruto was not there for obvious reasons. They had meet up when the barrier on his house had went up, and they spoke. All of them just have to talk to Naruto, as they didn't think that he would do anything to harm any of them. Kiba had been oddly quiet, really quiet. When he was asked, he said that he had a lot on his mind. So they decided to just leave him be. After all, they all had a lot on their mind. Sakura said Naruto, answering her question. There was a mob coming to my house to set me on fire. If I hadn't put up that barrier, Zana would have probably already taken me out of the village. Well, when you put it like that, she said. Besides, if I had stayed, Snazzy would have to deal with a lot of shinobis, questioning their head of command. Because, if I had stayed, I wouldn't allow myself to be controlled in any way. Not to mention the power-hungry fools who would want me to use her power as a weapon, completely ignoring the fact that she's a person and she deserved to be treated as such, demon or not, he said. So that's it? You're gonna leave and become a missing nin? As she was saddened, hurt by the fact of losing her remaining teammate. Sasuke had tried to leave for power, and now Naruto was leaving for love. But she saw how everything was playing out, as she understand. But that didn't make it any easier. Seeing the look on her face, he placed his arm around her in a hug. Believe me, I would have preferred to stay for a while longer. But it seems like someone had screwed me over, he said. Sakura no longer, mind being in this close position. As soon enough you'll be gone. Why didn't you tell me, she said. I wouldn't have told anyone, you know. He knew that he, didn't have to explain, but you have to understand that Zana is more important to me than anything. I kept her true nature a secret because I honestly wanted to have more time with you and the others. Once you reveal a secret to someone, even if they didn't say anything, there is a big chance of your secret getting revealed to the more people that know. You know that. I get, she said. She was really gonna miss him. When are you leaving? And where will you go, she asked. I'll be leaving sometime before the night is over. I just have to say goodbye to the others and kill a few people first, he said. Who? And for what reason, she asked. Here he was being so kind and soft, and then he just blurted out about killing people. Well, the elders are one, seeing that it's their fault why I'm in this situation. Not to mention they were the ones that betrayed me to Orochimaru and Akatsuki, with a bunch of other craps. She really didn't like his plan, but she couldn't object either, not after seeing how quickly the village had turned and wanted to kill him. It might be treasonous of her, but she wouldn't shed any tears over those elders if they end up dead. Still, she was obligated to inform someone, but she would never do that. He had shown her a lot of trust by telling her this so bluntly. She wouldn't tell anyone. After all, Kakashi Sensei always said that those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. She had to ask. Where are you going, she asked. Zana said that she wanted to show me a special place, so I don't really know yet, said Naruto, as he became happy quickly. You sure turned happy from just mentioning her. Oh, don't mind me. She just agreed to marry me not too long ago, and I'm still a bit giddy. Oh? Congratulations, she said, as she felt happy for him. It made her feel better to know that she wasn't being abandoned by her teammate. He just had to leave so he could have his happily ever after without the fools in this village messing it up. Yes, it was better, looking at it from that perspective. Why, thank you, a voice said. As Sakura looked up, as Naruto's eyes had changed. They were red, and his voice sounded feminine. She could definitely feel that it wasn't her teammate behind these eyes. Zana-san? As she was pretty sure this was Zana. Now this situation felt a lot more awkward, seeing that Naruto had still pressed up in the wall, with his body pressed against hers. Was Zana in control now? Yes, it is I. As Naruto's mouth opened as a female voice came from it. Wait, I thought you were supposed to be free. Oh, I am. Naruto is merely sharing his body with me, just to prevent us from getting separated. I see, said Sakura. She couldn't really understand what it would feel like to have two persons in one body. Inner Sakura didn't account, as that mental disorder had been taken care of years ago. She had to give Naruto credit though, as he had so much trust in Zana to do this. Don't take this the wrong way, but why are you talking to me, Sakura asked. Despite everything, she was talking to the Kyuubi. That was frightening and both amazing and confusing and strange at the same time. I was wondering, can you help me with something? Such as, Sakura asked. She was really getting more uncomfortable with the position that she was in. Testing out what sex feel like from a male perspective. What? Sakura said. She tried to get away, but she was held in place. Don't even try to deny it. You find Naruto attractive, I could feel the suppressed desire within you. As Sakura's face get even redder, she felt no attraction to him until she learned about his relationship with Zana, because at first she thought that he was just a horny pervert. But seeing how much he loved the redhead had made her envious though. She always wants someone to look at her that way. Be that as it may, I don't want to be a test. Especially not for my first time. Are you certain? As Zana purred into her ear, I can make it very, very enjoyable for you. As she started to rub her hand over Sakura's stomach. Yes, I'm sure, Sakura said. As she cursed, her voice was shaking. I told you she wouldn't go for it. Naruto's voice echoing inside mine. A pity, said Zana. Sakura was then pulling a hug, but a non-sexual hug. Sorry about that. She's been curious ever since she came in my body. And she's wanted to find out ever since. Wait, so you would let her use you like that if I had agreed? Sakura asked, her face still red. Yep, but it would be a bit strange to be here but not the one doing it. And to be seen from my own body. But I didn't think that you would accept though. Of course I wouldn't accept. I don't want my first time to be with someone to be a sex experiment. Don't be angry, Sakura. Zana is a human. She's not able to relate to someone wanting their first time to be special. She just felt your loins burning for me, and she decided to ask. Stop making fun of me, you bastard, said Sakura. Don't feel bad, Sakura, said Naruto. But I want to know, does little Sakura-chan has a hot for me? Have you ever considered the possibility that you have a teammate complex of some kind? Should Kakashi be watching his back from now on, Naruto asked. She slammed the chakra in Anne's elbow into him, as she was happy when she saw the air escaping from his lungs. I don't have a teammate complex, and the thing with Kakashi is so gross, she said. But Naruto simply laughed. You're too rough, Sakura, he said. What, trying to hurt me so you can play doctor with me later on? Or maybe. Just shut up, she said, as she just leaned back on his chest. She knew that her punches wouldn't really hurt him. After all, he teased Nan like this before, and she threatened him with her super punches. She knew that he was leaving soon. Sasuke never came to her to tell her, but he had the courage to do it, and she knew after this she wouldn't see him. She wouldn't even know where he was. So she wanted to spend as much time as he started to massage her scalp. As Sakura started to get sleepy, as she was rather busy at the hospital lately, and she was also worried about him as well. So she was rather tired, really tired. As she felt herself being lifted, as he placed her down in the bed, he pulled the sheets up and kissed her on her forehead, a gesture that she never felt from him before. Goodbye, Sakura, he whispered. I'm gonna miss you, even if we did get off on the wrong foot. Goodbye, Naruto, she said. He gave her one last smile before he was gone. Alone in the dark bedroom, a single tear ran down her cheek. It just wasn't going to be the same without him. Time skip. Keiko, known as one of the biggest sadists and masochists in Konoha, well, sexually at least, heard a noise as she made her way. She reached for one of the kitchen knife as she was walking around, as someone had came in. Suddenly, the knife was grabbed from her hand. As she turned around to see Naruto-sama. What are you doing here? She said, breathing heavily. It had been years since Naruto came to the red light district. And when he had came back, she, well, tried to get things started with him. But she heard that he was in a relationship with Zana, the girl that had sent him out to sleep with other girls, so he could get better at it. She had given up after that, as she saw that he was content on being with one woman. Too bad he was her favorite. And once he got up over his silly hang-ups about being rough with her, he was amazing. As he decided to answer her question, I'm here to rape you, he said. She gasped as she backed up against a wall, her breathing heavy. Most people would think that she was terrified, but they were wrong. Alright, it wasn't going to be rape since she was all for the idea, but he knew how much she liked these games. Well, not me exactly. As his eyes turned red, I would be the one. His voice sounded feminine. It didn't take her long to make the connection. Kyubi-sama? Is that you? Kyubi-sama, said Zana. I like you already, she said, as she sniffed her. How? Keiko asked. Nah. You don't get to ask any question. You're simply here to satisfy my curiosity. As she wrapped her hand around Keiko's throat. Do you understand me? Yes, Kyubi-sama. Those claws. Those dangerous claws. Keiko could already feel herself shaking as she couldn't control herself. Good. As Zana ripped off her robe, chain came from his body, and pinned her down to the ground as she was on her knees. As Zana started to remove the pants, there was only one thought in Keiko's mind. She was a slave to a demon, and she loved it. Time skip. I think you may have overdone it. Don't act like you didn't enjoy that, said Zana. Oh no, I definitely enjoyed it. I'm just saying that she's gonna feel that once she wakes up. She was on the ground completely naked. She was gonna be sore later on, said Zana. As Naruto picked her up and brought her to the bed, it was the least he could do. So, are you satisfied now? Indeed, Zana said. That told me all I need to know. And what's your verdict, Naruto asked. I definitely prefer a female body. It felt good. But not as good as you can make me feel, beloved, said Zana. As Naruto feel like top dog hearing that. If you're done patting yourself on the back, perhaps we could get back on track, said Zana. Time skip. Ayame woke up to a large hand in her cheek as she slowly opened her eyes. As she saw the newly acquired eyes of her brother. His golden orange eyes that seemed to glow in the dark. Naruto? She asked in a sleepy tone, not frightened by his sudden appearance. She didn't remember that he was injured on his recent mission. Naruto, she said, as she moved rather quickly, jumping up as she wrapped her arms around his neck in a big hug. He was surprised that she was able to move that fast, giving her a bulging stomach. I'm so glad you're okay, she said. It was close, but I got better. She had no intention of releasing him yet. But, given her pregnancy, as Naruto could feel her arm slipping, as he held on to her and gently laid her back down to bed. Something then came to her mind. How did he get in here? They were in the Inazaka compound, and her husband was right next to. She turned her head to see some black lines all over him. And his eyes were moving under the eyelid, but they could not open. Naruto? What did you do to Masaru-kun? She asked sweetly. Oh well, said Naruto. I didn't want him freaking out. So I slapped the paralysis seal on him. He's fine. He's just unable to move. Come on, Naruto. Was that necessary? She asked. I don't know. That is why I did it, he said. It's fine. I explained everything to him, she said. Well, alright then, said Naruto. As he released the seal, the man released a sigh of relief as he opened his eyes, feeling control of his body returning to him. Well, that was unpleasant. Masaru says he sat up and helped his wife do the same. I figured that it was better than you screaming bloody murder because you found me in your room, said Naruto. I wouldn't have done something like that. Ayame-chan has told us that there is no danger, despite the Kyuubi being free. Even though Naruto scared him, he still trusts Ayame to know what kind of man her brother was. I kinda had to after the way Kiba blew his secret, said Ayame, in a angry tone. Wait, what? Kiba was the one that blew the secret? He phoned about Zana? That son of a bitch. I'm gonna kick his face in, said Naruto. Calm down, Naruto. He didn't mean for it to happen, Ayame said, stopping him. As Naruto looked at her with confusion. What do you mean? I went to visit you while you were unconscious, and Zana didn't bother to hide her tails. Masaru asked Kiba to watch over me. Since you weren't here, he was just following me to keep me safe. He caught sight of her through the window. He went to ask Hana for advice, and their mother walked in on them. Long story short, their discussion got a bit loud. Some of the smaller pups heard about it and asked the older ones. Soon after that, the whole clan found out. And you know how they can be. A bit excited. And bits and pieces of the story got through the walls, people passing by hearing. And it got twisted. Naruto sighed. Of all the ways for a secret to get blown, it was the little ways that screwed you over. I managed to calm the clan down after telling them what it was really like, but the news was already spread within the village. And the entire clan took your word for it, said Naruto. He knew that Masaru wasn't very high on the clan pecking. And the Inuzakas were wild and brash, and they weren't, well, reasonable. It took some convincing, but I believe the nail in the coffin was when I told them that Zana has been free for 6 years now, and that she had her full power all along. They couldn't find a good argument to say why the village was still standing, if she wished it harm. Though most of them are still wary, they believe that you aren't in any immediate danger. As Naruto sighed, still thinking about kicking Kiba's teeth in though. Or leave the poor boy alone. He's been beating himself about it ever since. He feels guilty, causing this mess for you. Know that he knows the truth, even though it's not entirely his fault, said Ayame. As Naruto sighed, there was no reason to get mad at Kiba. He only wanted to do the right thing. He went to get advice. When will you be leaving, little brother? She asked. She had already came to that realization several days ago. Soon, he said. He wasn't surprised that she knew that he was leaving. She always knew him well. I see. I'm gonna miss you, she said. I'm gonna miss you too. And I won't get to spoil your kid. As he gently placed his hand on her stomach as he felt the kick. Masaru, who had been silent, felt a bit panicked as he saw those claws near to her stomach, but he knew there wasn't any, well, danger. But it was just instinct. You will still visit with the higher Shin, won't you? Of course I will, but it just won't be the same. I know, but it's better than nothing. Maybe you could even convince Zana to come with you. and I could finally pet her tails. I've been dying to know if they are as soft as they look. Could you please let her pet them, Naruto thought. Fine, just this once. I will let someone other than you touch them. Ayame gasped when the 9 tails burst from around Naruto as they wrapped around her gently. Naruto was just glad that they could pass through his clothing the same way as his chains, otherwise he would have a huge hole around the back of his pants. They're so fluffy, Ayame said as she rubbed her face into them. Honestly, why is that the most common female reaction to my tails? Said Zena. Because they're cute as hell, said Naruto. But how can you have the tails, Naruto-san? I thought that Zena-san was no longer in the seal, Masaru asked. Ayame had forgotten about that as she was calling them tails. But she was curious as well. She wanted to know. She's temporarily back in the seal, just in case anyone tried to pull off some stupid sealing once again. Ah, I see, he said, as Ayame started to pet the tails once again. And guess what, big sister? She finally agreed to marry me, said Naruto. Oh, that's wonderful, Naruto. Congratulations, she said in a squeal, as she knew how much that meant to him and she was happy. As the mood turned somber as the tails returned, sitting her back on the bed. I'm really gonna miss you, he said. There was a time in his life where only her father, and the right-here woman that he didn't know was the only bright spot in his life. I'll miss you too, Naruto, but maybe this is for the best. This village never deserved you. I hope you and Zena are happy wherever you go, she said. She knew that he would be alright as long as he had Zena with him no matter what. As the both of them share another long-lasting hug before he said goodbye as she watched him vanish. Time skip. As Naruto blinked in confusion as Hinata was crying into his chest. Tears, snub, everything. He did not understand why her reaction was this extreme. He knew that it would be, well, sad, but to this level. He turned a gaze towards Neji, who had been sleeping in the same room for some unknown reason. Am I missing something here? As Neji explained what was going on, Hayashi was keeping things balanced by keeping both of his daughters eligible. But after found out about the, revelation, Hinata was taken out of the favors of the elders of the clan. That is why she was placed as a branch member. She was no longer suited for the position. All of them agreed. But that wasn't the worst part of it though. Hayashi had spoken to Hinata and Neji about before Neji's father had died. They had reconciled, and they want to remove the birdcage seal from the clan. Hisashi sacrificed after the ambassador with Kumo had messed up the plans, but they did not ruin them completely. The messed up part was, the elders are using Neji's life as leverage to keep Hayashi as clan head. Someone that they had under their control, someone that they can use. He had guessed that Neji and Hinata wanted the same thing of getting rid of the birdcage seal. That is why he passed on the note secretly. With the chaos with Zena, the elders took initiative, and at the moment Hinata had the seal on her forehead. So with that on her forehead, they could use it, and use her as a hostage, as they want. Hanabi to become the clan head, someone they can control. They have power for too long, and they didn't want to release it. As Neji decided to spend some more time around her, to keep her from doing anything rash, she thought there was hope, but seeing how corrupted the clan elders were, she didn't see any hope of helping. And not to mention find out about Naruto, that made it worse, as she started to worry. Either way, Neji was worried that she would harm herself, so she wouldn't be used as a hostage, as she didn't want to be used against her loved ones like that. As Naruto's eyes became sharp and cold, hearing all of this, well, he's leaving the village anyway. Might as well make a spectacle. You know, with the both of us combined like this, I can feel every inch of your bloodlust. And it's amazing, said Zena. Before he could get to the killing though, he calmed himself. Come on, Hinata, look at me, he said. As she pulled away a bit, as his right hand was curling to a claw, and his chakra being formed into a complex seal of some sort. As he pressed against her forehead, she felt dizzy. You did it? Neji said in shock. You removed the seal? Yes, now it's your turn. Neji eagerly removed his headband. As Naruto removed the seal, as soon as dizziness left her, Hinata was crying once again, but this time in happiness. As Neji rubbed at his forehead, he couldn't believe the seal was gone. Know what, said Neji, the elders will not take kindly to this. As he knew that the elders would force the branch members to fight, because they had a kill switch on them at any time. Don't worry. I'll be taking care of it, said Naruto. But, big brother, you can't if you do that. You won't be able to stay in the village. I'm sorry, but I won't be able to stay in the village anyway, little sister, said Naruto. Know that everyone knows that Zan is a Kyuubi. We will never have any peace in Konoha. Slaughtering the main house Hyuga won't make any difference to my situation, he said. But Hinata protested further. Not even she was good-natured enough to mind if he killed the main house by now. Minus certain members, after what she saw them dead, but she didn't want them to leave. I'm sorry, I'll be leaving you at a time like this, Hinata. But this was the only option for me ever since the secret was revealed. We're a bit pressed for time right now, so you have to talk to Tenten, Sakura, or Ayame if you want any more information. As he gave her a one-arm hug. Here, take this. He gave Neji a scroll, instructions, for removing the seal. Give it to Tenten, and she will learn how to do it in a week or so. Neji took it. He wasn't happy that Naruto needed to leave either, but he understood. When your own village tried to kill you, well, you had to do what you had to do. It's best if you guys stayed out of sight. No sense in both of you getting blamed as accomplice. Thank you, big brother. And goodbye, said Hinata. As she hugged him, tight. Don't mention it, little sister. After all, that is what big brothers are for. Time skip. Who the hell did these people think they are? Did they think he wouldn't retaliate just because they were Hyuga? As he was already pissed off that he had to say goodbye to the girls. No one messed with his girls, he thought to himself. As his eyes became sharp. And most of all, they went after Hinata. Sweet, kind, innocent Hinata, who always wanted the better for people. As Naruto's palms started to clench, as Naruto stopped and carved a seal into the floor, it would stop anyone from using the birdcage seal. Our own, a good radius right here, unless he could overpower his chakra. Well, none of the Hyugas could do that. He knew that there was a high chance of getting spotted here as he walked across the yard going towards the main house. Well, it was about damn time. As he hadn't activated Byakugan yet, as he made his way, as he was in the main house building, he entered a room to see an old man sleeping rather peacefully, one of the elders. As Naruto walked over, as Naruto poked the man in his forehead, the man slowly opened his eyes, waking up. As Naruto drove his claw hand right into the man's chest. As both of their eyes locked, as the man fell dead. As Naruto tore off a piece of the man's cloth of the futon and wiped at his chest as Hinata had been crying all over it. And she was crying hard. As both of them had their Byakugan activated. As Hinata blushed in embarrassment, Neji simply smirked in amusement. Well, they didn't really mind that the elder had died. He was one of the main ones who were always saying that the main branch was superior to the lower branch. And they should always serve them proper respect as they are the leaders, not them. As Naruto kicked down the next door and drove his hand through another. As the guards outside noticed him, their Byakugan activated. Intruder. Uzumaki's in the compound! As Naruto activated seal as everyone jumped up, all of the branch members were put down. As they passed out. And no one could use a seal against them. But he wasn't done yet. There were still some of them left to kill. Time skip. Now there was only 2 of them left, aside from Hayashi and Hanabi. It took only a couple of minutes, seeing that there were just 15 of them in the main house. As Hanabi was hiding behind her father, as she looked at the monster in front of her, his hand dripping with blood. She might be a Jin already, but she knew when someone was out of her league. Hayashi was hiding the warrior under a blank mask as he noticed Naruto looking at the other 2 that were in the room with them. The other 2 main house members were standing, as they smelled like fear and confusion. They didn't even know why they were gonna die. Why are you doing this, Uzumaki? One of them asked. He was an older man. Oh, I thought that was obvious. You hurt my little sister, so you're gonna die, said Naruto, as he moved across the hall rather slowly. You are referring to Hinata? The woman asked, still confused, as she didn't know why he would do such a thing. Who else would I be referring to? If you are angry that you can no longer use our position as clan heiress to your advantage, then there is no need. You may deal with us directly, the older man said, thinking that this was why Naruto had befriended the Hyuga failure. He was too strong to fight, but perhaps he could be bargained with. And he was, well, doing them a favor. The rest of the other members dead. Him and his daughter right here could come out of it on top. Now all they wanted was to find out what Uzumaki wanted in exchange. To kill Hayashi and his unmarked daughter right here. My name is... It doesn't matter what your name is, said Naruto. You'll be dead in a minute anyway. The man and his daughter took a step back. What? Hayashi understood Uzumaki never befriended his daughter because he had any ulterior motives. He just did it because he saw something within her that he liked. It was all very simple, but the elders didn't see any reason for him to befriend Hinata if he was not going to use her. But they were wrong and stupid. Stop! If you come any closer, we will use the bird cage steel to kill her right now. As Naruto started to laugh, as his smile turned bloody. But guys, if you ain't subscribed right here, if you want to support this, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notifications they posted. But more for now, see you guys soon. Peace.